Hey everybody, it's Anna and welcome back to my booktube channel. Long time no see, but I am finally back in my home for the first time in almost a month. I've got my lost dog back and I'm here to make my Geekly wrap up for the week of December 16th through December 22nd. Probably not surprising any of you, I didn't actually manage to get very much read during this week. I actually completed 2 books and I DNF'd one of them. The first book that I completed was the January pick for the romance book club that I joined, and that was the Bromance Book Club by Lisa K. Adams. I thought that this book was pretty cute. It's been getting talked about among people that read romance on BookTube a lot, but basically it is about a man who, upon discovering that his wife has always been faking it for the entirety of their marriage, gets invited into this secret Fight Club style book club with some of his coworkers. They're all baseball players, and basically what they do is they read romance novels in order to try and be better at their relationships. So I thought that the premise of this book was adorable, and also the way that the couple handled their communication issues made a whole lot of sense. In a lot of the romances that I've read, as I'm trying to read more romance, sometimes the communication issues seem very contrived, almost like the author needs to put some sort of thing in so that the third act of the book has a sense of conflict to it. But this actually made sense because of the circumstances surrounding the characters' relationship with each other, and also their backgrounds and the kind of relationships that they had seen modeled in childhood and stuff like that. A lot of Thea, who is the woman in this book, a lot of Thea's perspective is informed by the fact that her parents had a pretty rocky relationship growing up as well, and she doesn't feel like she can be open and vulnerable with her husband because historically that has worked out poorly for her and everybody that she knows in her life. So I thought that this book was really cute. I believe I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Honestly, so much life has passed in such a short amount of time, I don't really remember, but I enjoyed it, and I am looking forward to discussing it with the book club, which I think is gonna be next Wednesday, something like that. Not 2 days from now, but next Wednesday. So I will probably make another Reading Romantically book about that. Then comes the book that I DNF'd. It's called The Light Between Worlds by Laura E. Weymouth. You may have seen this in a previous tag. I think it was the end of the year book tag where I said, this is a book that's been on my TBR the longest and I needed to read it by the end of the year or else I was going to unhaul it. Well, as it turns out, I DNF'd it by the end of the year and I'm going to unhaul it anyways because I didn't really care that much about this book. This is a story about it's 3 siblings, 2 sisters and a brother, that basically find a portal to a magical world in World War II. There is a magic talking stag that is in charge of the world, and they are, basically there to have adventures and live their lives in the magical world. Sound familiar? Well, yeah. This is basically a shameless ripoff of the concept behind The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and it tries to have something to say about what happens to characters when they come back from this magical world. But basically all that happens is they just constantly repeat the sentence, "A woodland's heart will always find its way home," which I swear if I had to read that sentence one more time in this book, I was going to throw it across the room, because they say this sentence at least once per chapter. The chapters are only 2 or 3 pages long. It just got really tedious. I thought that the writing of the characters was not particularly interesting. There was nothing in the world building that was drawing me to be interested in this book, and I was also super stressed out by trying to look for my dog, and I was like, I don't have time for this. So I DNF'd that book. I think that was a good decision. And then the last book that I read, let's double check, was the July-August issue, which is issue 29 of Uncanny Magazine. This is a short form fiction, poetry, and essays, sci-fi and fantasy magazine that I have lately gotten super into because of their Disabled People Destroy series. They have a bunch of series where people from a different minority group will destroy said genre by basically breaking into it, breaking down old stereotypes about people of said minority group in that genre. So I have now read both the Disabled People Destroy Science Fiction and Disabled People Destroy Fantasy issues. I know that there's queer people destroy and people of color destroy. I want to read those issues. I just want to read all of the issues. I really like a lot of the authors that are featured in this magazine, and it's awesome to like get to read a little bit more quickly than the timetable of like novel releases, stuff that they're working on, to see what it is that they're thinking about and interested in. And so this was just a basic standard issue of the magazine. It wasn't like a particular theme or anything like that, but I really enjoyed reading it. Gave it 4 out of 5 stars. So that's it for my Geekly wrap-up for this week. I hope that as we near to the end of 2019, your life is much less hectic and stressful than mine has been over the past 25 days. Thank you all, as always, so very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!